Hi friends, welcome! I can't wait to show you the process of how I'm making my newest spring journal collection. This first video is going to be me showing you how I made these vibrant and sparkly floral covers, so let's get right into it. First, you'll need 2 pieces of heavyweight cardstock. I'm using some file folders that I cut into 5.5 by 8.5 inch pieces. And then I'm taking some cotton batting and using PVA glue to attach it to the pieces, which are going to be the front and back cover. Then go ahead and cut off the excess batting around the edges. If you don't have any cotton batting, felt would be a good alternative. And as with all of my tutorials, everything is always optional, and just make your crafting work for you. Use your own measurements and the supplies that you already have on hand. Now you can choose what fabric you want for your cover pieces. I chose these stunning linens that I thrifted many months ago, and I've just been hoarding them, waiting for the day that it was time to make spring journals, and today is the day and I am so excited. I then put some glue on the batting side and smoothed out all of the glue with my finger and then attached the fabric. Then go ahead and cut the piece out and just make sure to leave about an inch or so on all 4 sides so you can wrap the fabric around later. Also, be sure to save any and all of your fabric scraps. I'm going to be using this large scrap piece for the spine, and I'm even saving all the little tiny bits because I'm hoping to use as much of the fabric as possible in the ephemera and embellishments later. Now I'm cutting out little squares on each of the corners so I can fold over the fabric. I'm making it my mission to use up the entire piece of fabric, so I'm even saving these little tiny squares. I will surely find a purpose for these little guys, and I'll be posting a video which will be part 3 where I make all of the journaling ephemera. Next up, I'm working on the spine piece, and I know what you're thinking. Katie, get over it with the glitter canvas. We get it, you like glitter. I'm sorry, but I simply cannot get enough of it. It makes me so happy, so I'm just rolling with it. Anyway, I wanted my spine to measure about 1.5 inches, so I measured the piece to be about 3 inches wide to give me enough room to attach it to the front and back cover pieces. Then I took one of the larger fabric scraps that I set aside earlier, and I'm using that to cover up the inside of the spine. I just attached it with some fabric glue and then cut all the way around the excess. You don't need to worry about folding this fabric over because you're not going to be able to see the longer sides of the spine because they'll be covered up, and the top and bottom of the spine will get sewn, so you won't have any messy or weird edges, and trust me, everything will come together. I set aside all those pieces, and now I'm working on the inside of the front and back cover. I cut 2 more pieces of file folder to be the same measurements as the cover, but I am going to trim off just the tiniest little bit around the perimeter, so that way when we attach it to the cover, it'll just be slightly smaller, which I think makes the cover just a little less bulky looking around the edges. Then I'm taking some different fabric with a pattern and color that I thought was complementary to the blue and purple in the floral fabric, and I just glued it directly onto the cardstock and cut around the edges the same exact way that I did the front and back cover pieces. Also, I know I should have steamed out the wrinkles before I applied the fabric, but I just wasn't thinking about it, and then it was driving me nuts, so I did end up steaming it out afterwards, and it turned out fine, thank goodness. Now I'm laying out my cover pieces to be 1.5 inches apart and then attaching the spine with hot glue. For normal fabric, fabric glue would be fine, but because of the glittery texture, I've found regular glue isn't strong enough. You do also want to work very fast with hot glue, so I'm just working in smaller amounts as you can see. And make sure when you're doing this that your cover pieces stay straight and in line with the measurements that you're using, so that way you don't have a wonky cover. Unless wonky is what you're going for, then I fully support you in that. Then I glued down the inside cover pieces, and for this I just used PVA glue. I wasn't too particular with the glue for this step because I will be sewing everything down, so the glue is more so just to keep the pieces in place while I sew. Also, I opted to not add a pocket on the inside of these covers because I wasn't sure how bulky the journal would get in the end, but if you wanted to sew on a pocket, you could totally do that, and I would do that before gluing down these pieces. As always, sewing is totally optional, but I do recommend it because you can see how it just pulls all of the materials together and makes it more seamless. If you don't have a sewing machine, it would probably also look really beautiful if you just punched holes all along the perimeter and hand stitched it. Would definitely take way more time and energy, but probably worth it in the end as have a more secure journal. At this point, the cover is pretty much done, and you can embellish however you'd like. I added some little gold book corner protectors, and once the journal is all bound and finished is probably when I'll add an eyelet and figure out what kind of ribbon or seam binding I'll want to use as a closure. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my Making a Journal from Scratch series. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and so you can stay tuned for part 2 where I bind the signatures and talk a little bit about my process of selecting pages for journals. So I am sending you all so much love and big hugs, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!